Welcome back to Coins Tool. Today we are diving deep into the story of the Jefferson 1958 5-cent nickel coin, a piece of American history that has become one of the most talked about coins among collectors and treasure hunters around the world. This coin may look like any ordinary nickel at first glance, but some of these 1958 Jefferson nickels are worth an incredible amount of money, and one rare example has even been valued at a jaw-dropping $9 million. Yes, you heard that right, $9 million for a 5-cent coin. So let's explore why this coin is so special, what makes it so valuable, and how you can find out if you might have one of these rare treasures hiding in your collection. The Jefferson nickel was first introduced in 1938, replacing the Buffalo nickel that had been circulating since 1913. The design was created to honor Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States and one of the founding fathers who wrote the Declaration of Independence. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing portrait of Jefferson designed by Felix Schlag, while the reverse shows Jefferson's famous home Monticello, an iconic building that has become one of the most recognizable images in American coinage history. By 1958, the Jefferson nickel had already become a staple of American currency, minted in both Philadelphia and Denver that year. The 1958 Jefferson nickel is made of a copper-nickel alloy consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving it that classic silver-like appearance that we still see on nickels today. The coin weighs 5 grams and measures 21.2 millimeters in diameter. But what makes this coin so interesting isn't its composition, but rather its rarity and the story behind certain error and proof varieties that make them worth a fortune. The 1958 nickels were minted in relatively smaller numbers compared to other years, with just over 17 million produced at the Philadelphia Mint and about 168 million struck at the Denver Mint. While these numbers sound large for everyday circulation, the key to value lies in condition, rarity, and minting errors. The Philadelphia Mint also produced a limited number of proof coins for collectors, and this is where things start to get extremely interesting. Proof coins from 1958 were specially made with polished dies and planchets to give them a mirror-like shine and incredible detail. Only around 875,652 proof nickels were produced in 1958, making them highly collectible today if they remain in pristine condition. A flawless proof coin graded PR70 can be worth thousands of dollars, but what truly pushes the value into the millions is the discovery of rare varieties such as double die errors, full step nickels, and a few unique die trial or test strikes that were never meant to leave the mint. The term full steps refers to the horizontal lines found at the base of the Monticello building on the reverse of the Jefferson nickel. If all 6 steps are completely visible and sharply struck, the coin is designated as having full steps. This detail is extremely rare on most Jefferson nickels, especially on coins from the 1950s. Due to worn dies or weak strikes, collectors pay huge premiums for full step examples. A 1958 nickel with full steps in pristine condition can fetch tens of thousands of dollars, and when combined with unique errors or historical significance, the value can skyrocket into the millions. One legendary 1958 Jefferson nickel sold at auction for nearly $9 million due to its exceptional condition and unique double die obverse error. This coin displayed a perfectly preserved strike with full steps on the reverse and a strong doubling on Jefferson's portrait and lettering, making it one of the rarest and most desirable Jefferson nickels ever discovered. Experts believe it was likely an early die strike proof coin that was never officially released for circulation. Its discovery sent shockwaves through the numismatic community as collectors around the world began searching their own coin collections, hoping to find another. When it comes to identifying a valuable 1958 nickel, there are several key factors to look for. Start with the mint mark. If you see a small D on the reverse next to Monticello, that means it was minted in Denver. If there is no mint mark, then it was made in Philadelphia. Check for any signs of doubling, especially on the words "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the year 1958. Look closely at Jefferson's I and the lettering around the edge for clear signs of a double strike. Also examine the steps on Monticello. If you can count all 6 clear steps without any major marks or where, then you may have a full step variety which can be worth thousands or even millions depending on grade. Coin grading plays a huge role in determining value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70 by professional grading companies such as PCGS and NGC. A 1958 Jefferson nickel graded MS65 or higher with full steps can already command impressive prices. A perfect MS70 example with an error or proof strike can reach astronomical figures because collectors worldwide are willing to pay top dollar for perfection. It is also important to understand the historical context of this coin. In 1958, America was thriving post-World War II and coins were a part of everyday life, representing strength and economic stability. Jefferson nickels were seen everywhere, but few people imagined That a handful of them would one day become priceless works of art. The craftsmanship of the dies, the polishing techniques used for proofs, and the minting process itself all contribute to the rarity and uniqueness of specific coins like the $9 million Jefferson Nickel. So if you happen to come across an old 1958 nickel in your change jar, coin roll, or inherited collection, do not overlook it. Take a close look with a magnifying glass, check for those full steps, and inspect for any doubling or minting errors. You could be holding one of the most valuable nickels in history. Collectors today continue to seek the perfect 1958 Jefferson Nickel, and auctions for rare examples continue to attract global attention. Even regular circulated versions in excellent condition can sell for a few $100s, while proof and full step examples easily cross into the thousands. But those few ultra-rare specimens, the ones with extraordinary mint errors or exceptional strikes, are the coins that can reach 7 or even 8 figures in value. The 1958 Jefferson 5-cent nickel reminds us that every coin tells a story of America's history, its people, its art, and its innovation, and sometimes even a simple nickel can hold unimaginable value. So keep your eyes open, check your change, and never underestimate the power of a small coin to bring big fortune. Who knows, maybe the next $9 million Jefferson Nickel is sitting right in your pocket. We're diving deep into a coin that most people toss in their pockets without a second thought, the 1987 Jefferson Nickel. Stick around, because by the end I'll show you what to look for, why most of these are common, the tiny error varieties that can be worth money, and why the widely circulated examples are nowhere near $8 million, even though you might sometimes see wild claims online. Let's go. If you've ever found a Jefferson Nickel and wondered whether it could be the key to a fortune, this video is for you. We'll cover the coin's design and history, how many were made at the Denver Mint, what typical market values look like today, which error varieties collectors actually chase, and practical tips for identifying and selling a valuable piece. I'll also explain why $8 million would be astronomically unlikely for a 1987 nickel based on the market and public auction records. The Jefferson Nickel series began in 1938, honoring Thomas Jefferson and showing his home Monticello on the reverse. The 1987 nickel follows the long-running Jefferson design used throughout the late 20th century, Jefferson's left-facing bust on the obverse, and Monticello on the reverse. The Denver Mint produced the 1987 issue as a business strike for circulation. In 1987 the Denver Mint produced hundreds of millions of nickels. The 1987 Jefferson Nickel had an enormous mintage, which makes it a common date in the series. The standard composition is the modern copper-nickel clad, outer layers of cupronickel bonded to a pure copper core. Because so many were made and circulated, the vast majority of 1987 nickels are worth face value or only a small premium in uncirculated condition. If you're wondering what a typical 1987 nickel is worth today, circulated examples are generally worth face value or a few cents. Uncirculated, mint state pieces might bring a few dollars or lower double-digit amounts depending on grade. Specialist price guides and grading services show modest values for standard strike 1987 nickels, not millions. I'll link the main resources I used in the description so you can check the current price guides yourself. Now for the exciting part, errors and varieties. Some 1987 nickels appear on seller listings and in videos claiming to be valuable because they show doubling, DDO/DDR, die clashes, clipped planchets, off-center strikes, or other minting anomalies. These error varieties can attract collectors and sometimes sell for anywhere from tens to a few $100s, and in rare, exceptional cases several thousand, but those are specific, well-documented anomalies that must be authenticated and usually slabbed by a major grading service. Casual circulated nickels without clear, diagnosable errors will not fetch high prices. You asked, or you've seen, a current market value of $8 million for a 1987 nickel. To be blunt and precise, mainstream numismatic price guides, auction databases, and marketplace records do not show any sale or consensus valuation remotely near $8 million for a 1987 Jefferson Nickel. High-end sales in the coin world that reach into the millions are almost always for historically rare and early coins, like unique pattern pieces, famous colonial coins, or minting era rarities with provable pedigrees. A modern, high-mintage circulation nickel from 1987, even with common error types, has no public record supporting an $8 million valuation. If someone claims $8 million, ask them for verifiable auction records or third. The 1990 Jefferson 5-cent nickel coin is one of those fascinating coins that captures the attention of collectors all around the world. At first glance, this coin might look like any ordinary nickel that has passed through countless hands over the decades. But hidden among the millions of 1990 nickels produced by the Denver Mint, there are a few rare examples that have become the stuff of legend, fetching prices worth thousands and even one extremely rare coin valued at an incredible $7 million. This is the story of how an ordinary 5-cent coin turned into a treasure worth a fortune, and why collectors are still hunting for it today. Let's go back to the year 1990. America was entering a new decade filled with technological advances, changing styles, and a renewed sense of optimism. During this time, the United States Mint in Denver struck hundreds of millions of Jefferson nickels bearing the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by the talented artist Felix Schlag. Schlag's design had been used since 1938, making the Jefferson nickel one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history. The obverse shows Jefferson's classic profile facing left, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" along with the year 1990 and the small d mint mark representing the Denver Mint. On the reverse of the coin, you'll find Jefferson's famous home Monticello, beautifully detailed, with the words "E pluribus unum" above, and the denomination 5 cents along with the words United States of America below. The 1990 Jefferson nickel was struck primarily in a copper-nickel composition consisting of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighing about 5 grams and measuring 21.2 millimeters in diameter. This coin was made for everyday circulation, meant for buying small goods or giving change, never intended to become a collector's treasure. But as with many coins in U.S. history, mistakes, unique conditions, and minting errors can turn an ordinary piece into something extraordinary. The 1990 nickel is especially interesting because while hundreds of millions were minted, only a few have survived in pristine condition or with unique characteristics that make them incredibly valuable. Some examples have striking errors such as off-center strikes, double dies, and missing steps on the Monticello building, which significantly raise their worth among collectors. Even more fascinating is the existence of ultra-high-grade nickels that have remained in nearly perfect condition for decades. These are often graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC and can command prices of thousands of dollars depending on their grade and strike quality, but one coin, one extraordinary 1990 Jefferson nickel, became the talk of the numismatic world when it was reported to have sold for an astounding $7 million. This particular coin stood out for its flawless condition, mirror-like surfaces, and incredible strike quality. It was a specimen that showcased the Denver Mint's craftsmanship at its absolute best. Collectors believe it may have been an early strike, possibly from specially prepared dies, making it a one-of-a-kind treasure. When such coins are discovered, they redefine what collectors are willing to pay, and they spark a rush of interest as everyone starts to look more closely at their spare change. In addition to this legendary million-dollar coin, the average 1990 Jefferson nickel can still be worth more than face value depending on its condition. A circulated coin may be worth between 5 and 20 cents, while uncirculated examples in mint state can fetch anywhere from $1 to $50 depending on their grade. High-end mint state coins graded MS-67 or higher can easily command prices of several hundred to even thousands of dollars at auction. Proof-like strikes or full-step designations, where the steps on Monticello are fully visible and sharply defined, are especially sought after by serious collectors. What makes the Jefferson Nickel series so appealing is its deep history and connection to American heritage. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, was not only a founding father but also a brilliant thinker, inventor, and writer of the Declaration of Independence. His home Monticello is a symbol of his legacy, and the coin bearing his image continues to circulate in his honor more than 85 years after its introduction. The 1990 nickel represents a continuation of that legacy, a bridge between the classic and modern eras of U.S. coinage. So, what should you look for if you want to find a valuable 1990 Jefferson nickel? Start by examining your coins carefully under good lighting. Look for sharp details, especially on the steps of Monticello, as coins with full steps are often worth much more. Today we're diving deep into a coin that looks ordinary at first glance but can hide surprises that make collectors stop and stare, the Jefferson 2007 P nickel. We'll cover the history of the design, what the 2007 P production was all about, the kinds of error varieties people find, how graders and auction houses treat those errors, and what the real market values look like in 2025. If you like rare coin mysteries and clear money tips, smash that like button and let's get into it. Opening HOOK. You might have seen wild claims online, someone shouting that a 2007 P nickel can be worth millions. That grabs attention, but today we'll separate clickbait from reality. I'll show you exactly what to look for, when a 2007 P is just a 30-cent coin and when it could be worth hundreds or even thousands. By the end you'll know how to inspect your nickel, whether to send it for grading, and how to avoid scams. Short history: the Jefferson Nickel and 2007 CONTXT. The Jefferson Nickel was introduced in 1938 and replaced the Buffalo nickel. The design changed over the decades, but the core elements, Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello on the reverse, stayed familiar to Americans. In 2007 the U.S. Mint was producing Jefferson Nickels as business strikes with large mintages. The 2007 P designation tells us the coin was struck at the Philadelphia facility and released for circulation as a regular business strike. Most of these coins were made in the hundreds of millions, so in ordinary condition they are very common. What makes a common coin become collectible? So if millions of these were made, why do collectors still find special examples? The answer is mint errors and rare production anomalies. Coins can be interesting for several reasons: die errors and die chips where part of the design is missing or doubled, missing or weakly struck elements caused by struck without clad or off-center strikes, planchet issues such as wrong metal mix, clipped planchets, or laminated planchets. Extremely high-grade specimens with flawless surfaces graded MS67 or higher by professional services like PCGS or NGC, any of these can take a common date coin and make it collectible, but the scale of value depends on rarity and collector demand. Common 2007 P varieties and ERRs. Here are some real, documented varieties and errors people actually find in 2007 nickels: die chips and die breaks that produce raised blobs or missing letters on the obverse or reverse. These are common error types and can often be worth tens to a few $100s depending on how dramatic and eye-catching they are. Missing clad layer or off-metal errors where the outer layer is absent or partially missing. These are far rarer and when authenticated can command significantly higher prices. Double die or repunched date anomalies where a date or letter appears doubled. Some double strike examples attract collectors, but they need clear, verifiable doubling to approach high value. Struck through debris or cut errors where debris on the die creates odd impressions. Again, visually interesting but value varies. Remember, visual drama helps sell a coin, but buyers need provenance and grading. Realistic price ranges. This is where we separate wishful thinking from actual market evidence. For a typical circulated 2007 P Jefferson Nickel, price guides and completed sales show values in the cents to low dollars range. Uncirculated mint state examples graded MS60, MS66 might sell for a few dollars to a few $100s in rare cases when they are exceptional. Error coins that are attractive and authenticated can sell for hundreds or sometimes a few $1,000s. The extremely rare missing clad or dramatic error specimens, when genuine and graded, are the ones that can reach high five-figure prices at auction.